It's 2024, and more importantly, Mickey Mouse is now in the public domain, which means we all own him, but not really. Welcome to Teacup for One. My name is Matt, and I have 2 degrees, and that's right, everyone. As of today, Mickey Mouse has entered the public domain, but at the same time, that doesn't mean that we can do whatever the bleep we want with him. Listen, I never thought this day would come. As far as I know, Disney was at least partially involved in this whole thing that had to do with copyrights getting a 20-year extension, and that was, well, I guess 20 some odd years ago. But now here we are, the first ever iteration of Mickey has now entered the public domain. So what does that mean? It means that Mickey, as we think of him today, is still mostly, if not entirely, owned by Disney. Like if you think of Mickey Mouse in Fantasia, if you think of the Mickey Mouse Clubhouse, if you think of Mickey Mouse shorts, even like if you think of the mouse as he is when you meet him in the theme parks, Disney still owns all of that, and they will for a good chunk of my lifetime at the very least. But it is interesting to note that as of today, those first 3 original Mickey Mouse cartoons are now in the public domain. Here's the thing, everyone is giving all of the attention to Steamboat Willie. That is the 3rd Mickey Mouse cartoon. The first was 1928's Plain Crazy, the second was the Galloping something, and then the 3rd was the famous Steamboat Willie. So yes, the copyright is expired on those 3 shorts specifically, but they don't really contain a lot of the things that we associate with Mickey today. First of all, they were in black and white, so we don't get the iconic red shorts. We do get the shorts in that shape, but they're not red. We don't get the yellow shoes. And perhaps most importantly, all 3 of these were essentially silent films, except for Steamboat Willie. We'll talk about that in a second. But none of them had sync dialogue, which means that Mickey nor Minnie had their iconic voices yet. So a lot of those things that are super ingrained into the public consciousness when they think of these 2 mice, that's still owned by Disney. So thankfully, it means we don't have to see like Mickey Mouse, Blood and Cheese coming out anytime soon. I mean, maybe we will, but it'll be the Steamboat Willie version. By the way, did anyone watch Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey? Should I watch it? If you have no idea what I'm talking about, when Winnie the Pooh and Piglet entered the public domain, either last year or the year before, an independent production company, well, I don't know this for sure. I don't know who made the movie. I know somebody made a movie called Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey, and they utilized the original Winnie the Pooh and Piglet characters from those original Winnie the Pooh books to star in a gory slasher film. And so word on the street is that now that some form of Mickey is in the public domain, maybe we'll see the same thing happen. But if we do, it's going to have to be Steamboat Willie Mickey. And I think that's the most interesting thing about this whole Mickey is now in the public domain sphere. Because with the Winnie the Pooh characters, I think it's easy enough to dissociate the characters, however they may have appeared in Blood and Honey, as a different iteration of the Winnie the Pooh characters. Because Winnie the Pooh existed outside the sphere of Disney, but Mickey in Steamboat Willie remains iconic to this day. That shot of Mickey driving the boat, for the longest time, Billy Joel, for the longest time, they were using that as like part of the opening sequence for new animated films when it was like 60 years of animation magic. And so the fact that anyone can use that image, let alone the whole film now, it opens up the door to endless possibilities. Like this video. So because anyone and everyone can now post Steamboat Willie, we're just going to post Steamboat Willie. We're going to watch it together. I am going to do live commentary on the film for no reason other than the fact that I can. I was actually going to do live commentary on all 3 of the original Mickey shorts, but like no one was going to watch that. So anyway, without further ado, here we go. Let's watch Steamboat Willie, as owned by Teacup for One. Because now we all own Steamboat Willie, I think. Roll the clip. All right, lights, camera, action. For 2. Now, first thing I want to point out that's very important is that it said a sound cartoon by Iwerks. If you haven't watched my video about Iwerks, you need to go check that out because is the unsung hero of Walt Disney Animation. Without there would be no Walt Disney Animation. I don't know for a fact how much of Steamboat Willie animated, but it would have been the majority of it. So like I mentioned, oh, hold on, let's just take a moment to appreciate this. So, yeah, as I said, Steamboat Willie, even though a lot of people credit it as being the first ever Mickey Mouse cartoon, it was actually the 3rd. What is significant is that it's the first sync sound Mickey Mouse cartoon and the first sync sound cartoon ever. And a lot of the technology that was developed to allow that to happen, once again, could be could be attributed to Iwerks and his contributions, because and Ub and Walt essentially co-created Mickey. And so I got distracted. That was really funny. Um, and Walt co-created Mickey, and that was right after they lost Oswald. Hey, Oswald. It was right after they lost Oswald. And single-handedly animated all of Plane Crazy, which is like a feat of animation that I don't think anyone has matched yet. I think he was doing upwards of 700 drawings a day. And again, I don't know how much of Steamboat Willie he would have animated, but a lot of the things that we're seeing here are very characteristic of Ub's specific style. And what's really cool about Steamboat Willie is that I feel like it kind of acts like a bridge between the older style of animation that Walt started with, specifically with his like Oswald the Lucky Rabbit shorts, and the stuff that eventually went on to become more characteristic and more trademark of Disney, like the fun, playful qualities of Mickey Mouse. Those are starting to show here, but overall, this is a much darker cartoon, just in terms of like it's pretty morbid. There's a lot of animal abuse, but something that's really interesting is that you're going to see a lot of the shapes of like animals and characters being manipulated, and that was very much an Iwerks thing. Like one of the things that made Oswald the Lucky Rabbit so cool and fun is that he had the ability to take his body parts off to use them as tools. Like he would take his little ears off and then he would turn them into a propeller or something, or he could like take his leg off and use it as a hammer. So we don't quite see it to that degree in Steamboat Willie, but we do see manipulation of shapes in a very not real world way. And like, I know we're in a cartoon world, but the laws of physics are defied a lot more in Steamboat Willie than they are in later Mickey Mouse cartoons. Like even that, look at that. That's not what happens when you stuff a cow with straw, I don't think. Oh, Minnie. We love Minnie. Now, I know I said that we weren't going to watch those first two Mickey cartoons today, and we're not going to, but I did before watching this. And something that I thought was really interesting is that Steamboat Willie, this is the film where we get that characteristic peak on both Mickey and Minnie. Because, see, look, right there. So for eyes, they just have the black pupils, and then they have this kind of face mask. In those first two original cartoons, they are like, their faces are entirely black, but they have these giant white eyes that have black pupils. And that, I feel, was the genesis to this kind of widow's peak shape that we got. Because when you go back and you watch something like Plane Crazy, like their eyes are taking up most of their head. And just where the eyes meet, that's where we got that cool little V. I don't know for a fact, but I'm pretty sure just by like looking at the evidence that was the genesis of that crazy iconic Mickey Mouse face that they're still using today. As much as Mickey has changed over the years, that's been one of the constants. That, as well as the ears. I mean, look at this. This is one of the very first Mickey cartoons, and that iconic mouse silhouette is right there. And it also makes me wonder, does this mean that Disney doesn't own the iconic Mickey Mouse silhouette anymore? Like, I know with all the people selling ears on Etsy and stuff, it's always been kind of a gray zone saying nobody owns mouse ears. But that silhouette of like circle with two circle ears, I'm pretty sure Disney kind of had a stronghold on that. And I wonder if they still do now that this is owned by the people. You know what? I've been talking a lot. One thing that I haven't mentioned with Steamboat Willie is just paying attention to how incredible the sync sound is here. Like it wasn't until after I realized that this was the first sync sound cartoon, at least, that this was the first sync sound cartoon, and that it was specifically developed to showcase sync sound technology, that the entire movie is just finding opportunities to show off really cool sound effects and to apparently abuse animals like that poor cat. Like I was saying, there's a lot of stuff here that's very and a lot of stuff that is very Walt. So when you see like that cat being swung around by his tail with no regard for the poor cat, I think that was more of an thing. Not to say that he was pro abusing animals, because, well, I don't know that he wasn't, but I'm fairly sure he wasn't. He just had a very subverted sense of humor. And I think that was one of the things that contributed to the break between him and Walt. Well, that and Walt may or may not have taken credit for drawing Mickey Mouse, and that was very much an up thing. Anyways, who's to say? What was I saying? Oh yeah, so sync sound in this movie is really interesting, just because absolutely every scene and every little moment, like that right there, is an opportunity to show off. And that is what this film is doing. And not in a bad way, but it is showing off. It is taking so many opportunities to create opportunities for Mickey to make sound. And it feels so organic to the plot, or what little plot that there is. And when you consider that this was the first ever sync sound movie, or the first ever, sorry, again, sync sound cartoon, the precision with some of these sound cues is incredible. I mean, I would have expected that they would have done some sound effects that maybe cast a bit of a wider net, let's say, so that if it happened within a second or two of the on-screen action, it wouldn't matter. But so many of the sound effects here are to the microsecond, and it works, and it's great. Now, I don't know who's voicing that parrot. To me, it kind of sounds like it might be Walt Disney, but I think something that's important to note here is that Mickey and Minnie don't speak. They might make a few sounds here and there, but going back to what I was saying, this film, being in the public domain, does absolutely nothing for the iconic Mickey Mouse and Minnie Mouse voice. So those are protected. But that classic, recognizable depiction of Mickey Mouse, that's now fair game. So I'm excited to see what people are going to do with it. So I'm curious to hear your thoughts. What are your thoughts on the future of Mickey Mouse and the future of this specific short? How do you think people are going to utilize it? Are we just going to see this image popping up on t-shirts? I mean, people were already doing that, not me. People were already doing that, but now I guess they can do it legally. Are we going to get a horror remake of Steamboat Willie? Like, can theme parks suddenly have Steamboat Willie era Mickey Mouse roaming around as costumed characters? The possibilities are endless. But like most things, we're just going to have to see how 2024 plays out. Speaking of segues, what are the plans for the channel in 2024? I have no idea. Just more of the same content. I discovered last year that people seem to really be receptive to the content where I actually go out on location and then intermingle a little bit of vlogging with a little bit of history, like that today's special video. So I'm going to try to find more special opportunities to do videos like that. Also, in anticipation of the Wicked film, at least the first part of the Wicked film, being released in November of this year, I want to do a few more Oz videos. I'm going to be bringing back live trivia night. And of course, the Teacup for One movie marathon will be continuing on an ongoing basis, starting with the Oscars movie marathon. So keep an eye here on the channel for that. And on top of that, all the videos that I started writing and researching in 2023 that I never actually got around to posting. So there's a lot. So if you want to see all of that, make sure you subscribe to the channel if you haven't subscribed already. And if you haven't subscribed already, it is so easy. All you have to do is click on my face. Thanks for joining me today, everyone. My name is Matt, and I have 2 degrees, and that's the Teacup for One. Happy 2024.